All right, guys, don't be fooled by these 80-degree temps that we've had this week. Before you know it, we will be in a rush to save our plants from cold. So to get ahead of the frost, we have our master gardener, Michael Ismail, with us. We were having a huge discussion during the commercial break.
Yeah.
Because I said a conversation on how to save your plants from frost with some people is almost as heated of a debate as who you're voting for, because everybody thinks they have the right solution or equation to do it. But I'm coming to you because I know you have the right answer.
Well, I'm glad you brought me here.
Yeah.
You know, we want to try and base as much as we can off of university research, something that's actually been substantiated. And so that's why the Master Gardeners are here in Tucson, to help answer these questions.
So what are the basic need to know kind of going into the season change?
Well, you know, let's jump in and start covering a few different topics, because the season change, you know, we're so accustomed to the warm weather, and it can kind of catch us off guard when suddenly we have some nights with frost. So, you know, that's why I'm here, is to help give you some tips so that you can be prepared when that takes place. Now, the first thing to keep in mind is that you need to understand your location, where you actually are located within the city. When you look at what the forecast is for the temperatures, that's not necessarily going to mean your house. Now, understanding the way that cold air works, it settles and it actually flows like water. It tends to go to the lowest point. So if your home is next to a wash, for example, then you may have an average low that is maybe even several degrees lower than what the forecast is going to be. So, you know, start by getting an understanding of where you live. If you've just moved there, maybe ask your neighbors, do you know what the average, you know, difference is between the forecasted lows, you know, and sort of start there.
So once we kind of know whether I'm going to be impacted by this, you know, higher or lower temperature, where do we go from there?
Right. So, you know, let's back up just a little bit. As the season is cooling, we need to be thinking about water and how we're watering our plants. And this has to do with frost as much as it has to do with whether we are overwatering. Now, if you're on an automatic drip irrigation system and you're still watering the same as you were even a month ago or in the summer, then either your plants weren't doing very well in the summer or you're way overwatering them now. So that's something to keep in mind. In actuality, we're taught that we need to be adjusting our irrigation systems every month.
Every month?
Right. And so keep in mind that as it's cooler now, then you need to be backing off on your irrigation. Now, it doesn't mean you want to deprive your plants of water, because actually, if the plant is dehydrated, it can be more susceptible to frost damage. So when ice crystals form on the plant, they actually pull moisture out of the plant. So damage that you're going to get on the plant, it may be just as much from dehydration as it was maybe the plant actually freezing. So we want to be paying attention to that. There's a lot of resources for better understanding your water use. For example, the Pima County SmartScape program, which operates out of the Cooperative Extension Office. You can get a hold of them at the same number you can get a hold of us Master Gardeners at 626-5161. They have ongoing classes and a lot of education on water use. So if you're feeling like maybe you want to have a better understanding of how to water your plants, call the Master Gardeners at the plant clinic, and also contact the SmartScape program and maybe enroll in some upcoming classes. So we talked about water, then we move on to our fertilizing practices. What are we doing for taking care of our plants? Now, in the winter, plants go into a dormancy phase. So if we continue to give our plants nitrogen, which helps them to grow, then that actually makes it difficult for them to go dormant. Now, we're talking about landscaping type plants and trees. Vegetable gardens are a little different because we have our cool season vegetables that are going to do fine, as it gets cold. So if you're going to fertilize, then you're going to be looking at using more of a phosphorus or potassium based fertilizer, and not so much the nitrogen, because we don't want a lot of new growth. That's how a plant could be susceptible to actually being damaged. So then we move on to the frost is actually coming, and how do we protect the plants that we have. So it's good to understand what your options are. I brought a few different things here. These are different types of frost cloth. You've probably seen them before. And what you need to know about frost cloth is their temperature rating. Basically what it tells you, for example, this is a 10-degree frost cloth. That doesn't mean that it's okay down to 10 degrees. That means that that's how much it will make a difference on the temperature. So if the temperature drops to 25 degrees, then under this frost cloth, it should be more like 35 degrees.
Okay, that's an easy way to...
Right, it takes the edge off.
Yeah.
Okay, so local nurseries, you know, this came from Eco Grow. There are a lot of places that you can get this frost cloth, and pay attention to how it's rated.
Okay.
So something like this, they have huge rolls, and you can get custom sizes and get whatever you need. Something like this is a little bit more creative. It actually has a drawstring on the bottom. So this can go, you know, completely over a plant, and you can use the drawstring to sort of adjust it. Now, be careful, don't go pulling that tight around the plant. The reason for that is that we're actually trying to capture the warmth that is coming up from the ground. So if you take a tree and you put your frost cloth over it and you cinch it up to the trunk, then you're actually not protecting the tree.
Yeah, you're cutting off the heat. That makes sense.
Yeah, so you want it to go all the way down to the ground. And, you know, and these are really good ways to do that. Sometimes when it's cold, you'll drive around town and you'll see, you know, cactus with styrofoam cups. This is one way to protect those growing tips of a cactus, is to cover it, you know, with a styrofoam cup. So, you know, a few little helpful tips.
I know we're looking at some of these other pictures with other things on there.
Right,
Michael, we could talk about this forever, because remember how I told you that people just, they all think they have the way to do it?
Right.
I'm going to give them how to get a hold of you guys, that hotline.
Yeah, well, and let me point out that the Plant Clinic is such a great resource here, you know, and like you're saying, the hotline 626-5161, you know, any questions that you have specifically about plants and about how to take care of them can really be helpful there. And there are other, you know, resources like this, for example. You know, this is something that's actually now available online at amwua.org, and it has specific information for a lot of different plants. We have publications that will also help you. So
you guys have tons of ways. People just have to go and get the information. Don't just toss your old sheets on your plants. Get a little bit of education. Michael, you walked us through a lot of stuff. Now, if you at home, if you have more questions about your plants, advice is just a phone call away with the Master Gardener Helpline. That number again was 626-5161. And if you want a tour of the gardens, you can stop by 4210 North Campbell Avenue every Wednesday and Saturday starting at 9 a.m. To learn more, log on to extension.arizona.edu/Pima.